All right, it's the Tuesday edition of Kakaaki, the African Voice, and time for us to continue talking. Yes, September is the month for the United Nations General Assembly, and later this month it will be holding its high-level week, where heads of state and government come to say their piece to the world. But that's not what we're going to be talking about this Tuesday, because on the sidelines of that high-level week is a special event that is going to be organized, where the focus will be on climate change, technology, youth empowerment, and agriculture. And it's being organized by a group known as Vivacity International. I think that's what they're called. Anyway, to correct me, I'm joined by the executive director of Vivacity, whatever she calls it. We'll wait out and find out from her. Many thanks for coming on the program. It's Kemi and Melody Areola. Many thanks for coming on the show. Now, this event that you're... Okay, first of all, correct me. Vivacity what?
Well, this particular one is under Vivacity Development.
Vivacity Development.
Because we have other Vivacities.
All sorts of Vivacity.
Yes, it's Vivacity Group, actually, but
okay.
This particular one is under Vivacity Development, yes.
Okay, so, I mean, what's the motivation behind this event you're holding? Tell us a little bit about it and your targets.
Thank you so much for having me. Good morning, sir.
Sir, no. Oluyede is the name.
Oluyede, okay. Good morning, Mr. Oluyede, okay. If allowed.
All right.
So I've been working in this space for a good number of years. What we see generally is that we need more, do we say young persons or Nigerians in general, in decent work. Not just work, but decent work. So we're looking at the fact that, yes, we do have a good number of unemployed persons, but we also have a good number of underemployed persons. And we're aware that by 2030, 30 million jobs as we know them currently will be obsolete. So how do we position ourselves for the future of work? How do we ensure that all the work that we've been doing, I've been in Nigeria for about 10 years now, and I've been working in this space for the best part of 8 years, and well, 9 years actually, and all this good work that we've been doing, how do we ensure that it doesn't go to waste? And it's about reskilling and upskilling, but not just in anything.
So give us an idea of the work you have been doing.
Okay, so the work I have been doing is I've been working in government. I served as a special assistant to 2 ministers. First of all, I was the special assistant on new media to the Minister of ICT for 4 years, and then after that, I was the special assistant youth ICT and corporate relations to the Minister of Youth and Sports. Right. So I've worked with the young people for a good number of years, and I've seen the struggle. And the struggle is that it's not that they are not willing, and it's not that the jobs as well sometimes don't exist, but it's about fitting the right people into the right skill set. So we've studied, I studied electronic and telecoms engineering, but, you know, from what I've just said, you can see that I've really diversified.
You've really moved away from wires and stuff like that.
Exactly, because you know, it's totally evolved. And I think that it's the same for everyone. So as much as, you know, sometimes in America, you see a lot of people having double majors. So you see people studying engineering and law and, you know, something like that. And now we need to get the young people, the population, Nigerians, Africans, the world in general, to start studying education and climate, engineering and climate, engineering and sustainability, civil engineering and sustainability. That's the future. That is where we're at. There are so many jobs in the green economy. But are we equipping our workforce for that? No.
You said something about underemployment. Now, the definition of an underemployed person seems to differ from one person to the other. In your eyes, what do you define as an underemployed person? Because if we look at it, let's look at it in my eyes, as you've said. An underemployed person is someone whose employment isn't really giving them a good quality of life. Because we can't say the best quality of life. Best quality of life, as you said, differs from person to person. But is it giving them a good quality of life? Is your salary covering, you know, 100% of your bills as well as additional for you to live a good quality of life? And as long as that's not happening, if your transport to work is taking 90% of your salary, then you are underemployed. If your children's school fees is taking 95% of your salary, then you are underemployed, because you can't have a good life with the work that you're doing. So we're trying to ensure that, you know, everyone is in a job where
you have to work to make ends meet, of course, and life is difficult all over the world. But how do you ensure that whoever's going to work is adequately taken care of? That's what we're trying to look at.
Okay, so your focus this time around, is it from the Nigerian perspective or is it globally? Because you're taking this matter all the way to New York to take up. So is it a Nigerian thing or is it international?
Oh, of course, we're rooting for Nigerians. So, what we're doing is about Nigeria, it's about Africa. But one of the reasons why, because I've been to a good number of these global events, and we sit at the table with like-minded persons from other countries, and we discuss some of these things. And the good thing is that some countries are far ahead of us. There's no point in reinventing the wheel. Why don't you leverage the experience of other countries? And what's really important to us is Nigeria is a peculiar nation with peculiar individuals and peculiar circumstances. So we can't just have a one-size-fits-all model. We can't take a Philippines theory and adapt it to Nigeria because the demography the demographics are completely different. So how do we tweak it to make it work within our peculiar environment? And that's why we speak to countries like South Africa or countries like China and India that have, the massive young population and, have especially, you look at India, you look at how far they've gone with their technology advancement, and we try to see how we can, learn from them and sort of work together. And I've been on, lots of trips around the world and had these conversations with a good number of persons, and you learn a lot from them, and they learn a lot from us.
Okay, and you say Nigeria is a peculiar country. You're hinging it on democratics. What's the peculiarity of Nigeria's democratics?
So we first of all start from the diverse individuals that we have, and when I say diverse, so we're looking at religion, we're looking at culture, we're looking at literacy levels, education levels. There's a huge disparity when you come to certain areas. We're looking at the gender gap. In certain countries, they've been able to move it a bit closer, but Nigeria is still particularly wide when you compare it to other countries. So we have our own peculiarities, and our youth population, our natural resources, there's so many things that make us different, and that's why we're the giant of Africa, because we're different and we're amazingly different. We have, immense potential that we can leverage. I always say Nigeria's greatest natural resource is the human resource. And how do we put that to work? You go to, like I said, you go to countries like India and you see the workforce. You see them, making garments or, whatever it is, for many countries. But we go to the countries that they've made them for and import them over here. Why aren't we adapting those technologies and bringing them back home and equipping our workforce with these technologies? And then, like I said, we're harping on the green economy, the green finance. I held a lecture in a university locally earlier on in the year, and in a lecture hall of over 1,000 students, I said, how many people know about the green economy? And I had only 2 hands go up. And this...
In fact, you've now got a third. Yeah, because because it's true. I mean, and really, you can't blame these people because this green economy is all, theoretical. People are yet to see something practical what this green economy is. What does it really mean?
Oh, it's not theoretical because we're living it as it is. So the green economy in itself encompasses a good number of different components. So we're looking at renewable energy, we're looking at climate change, you're looking at biodiversity, you're looking at so many things within that space. But then you're also looking at green finance. You're also looking at green jobs. So there's so much potential, and that's why it's the green economy in itself, because you do see a lot of people refer to it as just climate change. And when you refer to it as just climate change, a lot of people are lost. We went to COP last year, and our message then was individualization of the climate change message. How does each individual understand? Because people look at climate change as an elitist problem, a government problem, but it's not. How do we recycle in our own homes? How do we use energy-conserving light bulbs? How do we change our own behavioral patterns in order to help the climate? That's the first one, or to help with climate change. But then how do we also leverage this particular situation for our own personal benefits? And personal benefit finance. How do we begin to ensure that we as individuals and those coming behind us are able to make money in this particular sector? People all around the world are making money from this sector. I met on the train in Dubai, you know, coming back from COP to my hotel, I met this young lady and, you know, we got talking. I said, what do you do? She said, she's a civil engineer. Brilliant, you know, what are you doing at COP? She said, because she does civil engineering and sustainability. So what she's there to do, or what she does with different organizations, is she helps them adapt their buildings to more sustainable material. And you can't just find an old building and put some cladding on it and say, you know, it's now, we're using solar energy and it's now climate friendly, because of the material that was actually used to build the building in the first place. You need to take all of that into consideration so you don't just put on some heavy cladding and the building just falls apart. So that's in civil engineering. But then we can still bring the same thing home to every sector, even in health. We're talking green economy, but we're also talking creative industry. I won't mention his exact name because I'm not giving him promotion, but we know doctors that teach us medical matters on Instagram because they've merged medicals with creative. And, you know, that's how it should be. Like I said, I'm an engineer, but I have a PR company. Yes. You understand? So how do we merge some of this? I have a young lady who came onto the webinar because we had a pre-UNGA webinar, and she's a sports journalist. And she's telling the young people about, when I first went into the sports ministry, I saw sport as just athletes, pitch, football, running.
Goalposts.
Do you know what I mean? But then getting in there, I saw there was an ICT infrastructure behind sports. My website could not crash. You know, when VAR now when it comes to football, you know, before it's a goal. Now you have to wait a couple of seconds because they're checking VAR. You know, there's technological advancements in everything.
So you're also a sports buff too, really?
To a little degree. Yeah, I was in the ministry for 4 years, so, you know, I did pick up on a lot of that. But this young lady is a sports journalist. So she's telling young people that, you know, it's not just athletes and the pitch, but how do you merge your creativity with a core, and then it becomes, you know, Sports 360 in itself.
Okay, you said that a number of countries are doing some of these things a lot better than we are. Okay, you're going on the global stage. You hope to use that time to, you know, find out what they're doing and try and leverage on what they're up to as well.
Yes, definitely. So we have a couple of speakers coming in from Minneapolis. I was out there with them, I think about 2-3 years ago, and there was a lot. I know Minneapolis is well known for angel investment and startup funding, and they're doing a lot of that in the tech sector. But like I said, it's not just tech. So it's sort of like tech and home economics, tech and security, you know, tech and so many different things. So we're bringing them to the table. We're all going to sit down and have this conversation and see how we can bring some of these things home to Nigeria and educate a few more Nigerians on how we can merge. It's about merging these sectors. Like I said, it's not about reinventing the wheel. It's about leveraging on the experience of those that have gone before us or those that are there. And like I said, those in different countries. Some are happening here in Nigeria. Please, let's not discount.
Yes.
But it's happening in small silos, and we need to have it happening on a national scale.
Okay.
And that's what we're trying to do.
Let's look at, all that you're trying to do. For it to really get the desired dividend, there's probably also a need to sensitize youths back home. It's key. We have a huge youth population which really needs to be properly harnessed. But it appears in the eyes of a number of people that maybe our youth need a kick in the butt too to get things going.
Well, you see, this is one statement that I always make, and I hope it's not a cop-out, but I always say that you can't expect people to give you what they don't have. You can't expect these young people to jump into an economy that they're not aware of. You can't expect them to come and tell you about the green economy when they've never heard about it. They've heard so much about climate change, but do they really know what it means? Do they really know how they can leverage it or how it's going to impact their personal, individual lives? I think the onus is on us who, do we call ourselves stakeholders or, you know, to educate them on these particular issues, and issues being how they can leverage it, of course, and how they can mitigate climate effects. So where we're at really is it's not just about the event at the United Nations General Assembly. It's an actual program in itself that comprises of 3 projects. Project 1 is sensitization. So we first begin to sensitize top level. Top level are the decision makers, the policy makers, the top level stakeholders that can actually begin to create some of these, what do you want to call them? Do we call them vocational courses, or do we call them these courses that the young people can take? Then we come back to Nigeria, and then we work with accreditation bodies to ensure that, some of these courses are actually recognized. Then we also have to work with the educational institutions for them to also have some of these courses on their curriculum. When I was studying my BEng, I was also doing network engineering as a short course, but in the same university. So I did have my Cisco certification while I was doing my BEng in the same university. So how do we get some of these universities to do some of these additional short courses that can add to their credits, that they add up and things like that, and then they can be recognized globally. So not that you spend 6 months studying a particular green economy course by Vivacity 101, and then you get somewhere in the world and they say, no, we don't recognize this particular course. So how do we actually have some people in the education sector out there as well that will be coming to talk to us, so we can see how we can form that alliance, number 1. And then, so that's phase 1, which is the sensitization. So we need to sensitize top level. Then we sensitize the young people to say, if you study this particular course, these are the benefits that can come out of it. Because they have to see, we've told them for so many years, go to university, and now they've come out and they're waving their CVs around. We now want to tell them to do something else again. You have to let them see that there is light at the end of the tunnel, both in Nigeria and on a global scale. And then we do the upskilling, we do the actual teaching and get, working with partners, of course. I can't do this all alone. So we do the actual upskilling, and then we go into the institutions, into the organizations. So for instance, we come into your TV station and ask you, how do we make your power more efficient? How do we make your building more efficient? How do we bring sustainability into your environment? How do we bring health and tech and, ICT and security and all of those things into your environment? So we ensure that the jobs are also evolving to accommodate the new skills, because there's no point teaching them the new skills, but the jobs are not available here in Nigeria. We know that a lot of countries, Nigeria as well, have gone into remote work and hybrid work. But Nigeria has not embraced it in its entirety. Why? Because of our ICT infrastructure, as well as data protection and data privacy. So a lot of organizations on a global scale might not really sometimes want to employ Nigerians for remote work because of the security of their data as well as our infrastructure. Because you can't be working for an organization and tell them...
all of a sudden the internet goes off.
Exactly. Yeah. So those are the sort of things that we're trying to work on to get more Nigerians into decent work.
Now, another key plank of this your event is agriculture.
Yes.
From what angle are you looking at agriculture here?
So I'm going to talk from a Kemi angle, right? I have nails. I'm not going to the farm.
So none of this is a Kemi angle at all. All right.
No, okay. So I'm not going to go to the farm. No, but I do understand that there is money in agribusiness. We're not just talking about the farming in itself. We're talking about the processing, the marketing. It's also an ecosystem. How are we exporting our produce? We see other countries, we won't name names, exporting the same things that we produce here to, outside their countries and making good money for it. What are we doing here in Nigeria? We're doing some of it, but it's not enough. We can do a whole lot more. There are questions, I know I've sat in a couple of meetings, and so let's say, for instance, now we've looked at our ginger sector. There's ginger for export and ginger for consumption, because some of our ginger will not be accepted on a global scale. I'm just using that as an example. Yeah. And that cuts,
across a wide range of products.
Pepper, everything, it's the same thing. So we need to make sure that there's the agriculture education, so that those going to the farm are aware of what are the international standards for your particular produce. The soil that you're cultivating, the products that you're growing, what are the sort of seedlings you should be using, what are the sort of temperatures and environments. And then we're also looking at smart agriculture. We don't need to destroy all of our forests in order to have a farm. We can still have the forest and have the farm. We see a lot of mechanized farming going on. But someone like Kemi would love to sit in her home, invest 100,000 naira in agriculture and, watch my technological dashboard and see my money, you know,
Shoot up.
like gold used to shoot up. I don't know if it still does, but you know, I want to be able to see that. Can't have that. I know that there are a couple of platforms. We have invited one or two of them to come to the event to speak as well. We know there are a couple of platforms doing this, but a few years ago, I didn't know that these existed. I know that they were in little clusters. So I had someone come to my office and say, oh, come and invest 200,000 in UNGA, and once the crop it comes out, you will receive 250,000. Which is okay, but how do we do this, you know, on a larger scale? And like I said, I know that there are a couple of companies doing it, but let's get more people into agribusiness.
Okay, just before I let you go, I think timing is going to be of the essence when you're holding this event, and I know President Bola Tinubu is going to address the UN General Assembly. How close are you tying it to when Presido is going to do his talk?
So yes, we're going to be in New York during the High Level Week. It's called the High Level Week, when the heads of different countries will be speaking. Well, I'm not too sure the exact date our president will be speaking, but our event is on the 26th. It's actually going to happen in the Nigerian house, the Nigerian consulate itself, which is just a few minutes walk away from the UN building. And it's a good 3-hour event. I've chosen 3 hours because I want us to delve deep. I want us to discuss. I want us to come up with plans. I want us to launch the program. I don't want it to be a talk shop. We're done with talk shops. Let's, you know, let's get something happening. And then, you know, we get back and we have our program in itself, which comprises of the 3 projects. And we do present to the government to see if they would be willing to partner with us to get this going. We have got a few government offices in little chunks that are partnering with us so far. But, you know, if we can take this to a higher level and make it grander, I feel a good number of Nigerians, as well as Africans, will benefit from an initiative such as this.
Okay, so it looks like we're going to have to bring you back when all this is done to see how it's all panned out and where you intend to take it from there.
Thank you so much.
We've been speaking with the Executive Director of Vivacity Development, Kemi, and Melody Areola, and she's been telling us about what is about to happen towards the end of this month, where she's holding an event on the sidelines of the UN General Assembly, which is going to focus on climate change technology, youth empowerment, and agriculture.